In 1984, China has bought a decommissioned and completely dismantled Australian aircraft carrier with $30 million. Upon hearing this news, many countries mocked China like crazy. They ridiculed China for being duped into paying a high price for a scrap ship back, which was incomprehensible. Why did China spend $30 million on this empty shell aircraft carrier? What did the Chinese engineer who opened the hatch find? Hi, everyone. Welcome to Hot Topics Time. Before we start today's video, please subscribe to our channel, which is the encouragement that we can create more videos. Okay, let's continue the topic we are talking about. This aircraft carrier has brought glory to Australia, but at the same time, it has also brought trouble and disaster, and has been regarded as an ominous ship. So what happened on board the Melbourne? In 1949, Australia decided to purchase the British giant-class light carrier HMS Majestic and renamed her HMS Melbourne. Upon arrival in Sydney Harbour, there was a very large welcome ceremony to celebrate the arrival of the carrier, but it was never expected that the Melbourne would bring not luck but jinx to the Australian Navy. On October 28, 1957, the Melbourne collided with the moving battleship Lonkin in Adelaide Harbour. Since then, the Melbourne has collided with carriers of other countries several times and even crashed into the destroyer Voyager, causing the destroyer to be broken and sunk, killing 82 officers and men on board. Not only that, but she also suffered fire in 1972 and in 1979. The Australian Navy was so disappointed with the Melbourne that it was decommissioned in 1982. Ever since the Melbourne was brought back, it has never stopped and has always been in trouble. The casualties due to the collision have also reached 155, and the Melbourne has become the embodiment of bad luck. So many crew members are afraid to step on the deck of the Melbourne. Then, why did the Chinese spend $30 million on this ominous aircraft carrier? In fact, the United States was imposing a technology embargo and an arms embargo on China at the time, and it was up to the United States to decide whether or not to sell such a major weapon as an aircraft carrier to China. But Australia wanted to get rid of it as soon as possible. And the United States thought about it and agreed to sell it to China, but the hardware on the aircraft carrier needed to be completely dismantled, and no weapon systems could be left behind. So after dismantling all the equipment on it, they sold the carrier to China. However, what Australia did not expect was that China would get a fortune after dismantling the ship. The catapults and blocking devices on the carrier were not removed. And these two legacy technologies were precious treasure. Actually, China did not buy the carrier to continue using it, but to study and learn about it. They could not only learn how aircraft carriers were constructed from this real carrier, but also achieve guidance to build their own aircraft carriers afterwards. With this mindset, Chinese technical experts soon disassembled the carrier and discovered the steam catapult and blocking cable on the carrier. An aircraft carrier, the core warfare power is the carrier aircraft, and the carrier aircraft launched with the steam catapult installed. There is no need to reduce the bomb load and fuel volume in exchange for flight stability. The carrier blocking cable is the guarantee that the carrier aircraft can stop at high speed and land stably on the deck. This discovery immediately turned the pile of broken iron into a treasure. The steam catapult can ensure the smooth takeoff of the carrier aircraft on the aircraft carrier and is one of the core components. Its existence means that the carrier aircraft can take off smoothly without hindrance no matter it is overweight or in bad weather conditions, which also ensures the combat effectiveness of the carrier aircraft to a great extent. The blocking cable can ensure the smooth landing of the carrier aircraft, which is the life safety line on the aircraft carrier. After the study of these two technologies, many experts were greatly inspired. They were also amazed at the Westerners' research ideas on top of aircraft carriers. The emergence of the Melbourne was like an opportunity for China to really develop carrier-related technologies independently and lay a solid foundation for the subsequent carrier construction. The discovery of these two treasures also greatly shortened the process of China's research into the key core technology of aircraft carriers. Countries that originally ridiculed China for picking up the pieces heard the news and have publicly accused Australia of being a piggyback. When the Melbourne was first evaluated for purchase, the offer of $30 million made Australia incredulous, thinking it had picked up a big bargain. Little did it know that it had made a money-losing deal. With the birth of the Chinese aircraft carrier, China's military power has been further strengthened and the Navy has officially entered a whole new era. At that time, China's purchase of the aircraft carrier was just the icing on the cake, speeding up the research process. Even if it had not been bought, researchers would have tried their best to build an aircraft carrier of their own, just like researching nuclear weapons. It was only a matter of time before or after. So why did the Australian government dismantle all the relevant equipment when the only thing left behind was the blocking device and catapult? On the one hand, Australia believes that even if these two technologies are left to China, China will not be able to produce decent results. On the other hand, it is because the Western countries are not mature in these two technologies, so they did not deliberately put in mind. However, to the West's surprise, Chinese researchers, with their persistent efforts, eventually succeeded in obtaining relevant information and notes on the development of the aircraft carrier from the Melbourne and accumulated a large amount of precious raw data. The dismantled carrier research on the Melbourne provided China with two main helps. One was that the dismantling process allowed China to recognize how carriers were built and helped Chinese naval designers to be able to successfully sketch the design of the carriers. The other was that the Melbourne's carrier deck was still intact and could help China's pilots practice carrier takeoffs and landings. And after China studied the Melbourne, it also found a surprise. It was that the Melbourne could only travel at an angle. It turns out that before the aircraft carrier Melbourne was decommissioned in 1982, it had become a large ship that could not drive upright and straight. After experts' research, they found the root cause of the Melbourne's slanting. The navigational gyrofoil inside the Melbourne's hull had been welded 15 degrees to the right. China spent $30 million on the Melbourne, which now seems undoubtedly a wise move. The Melbourne was the first step in realizing China's aircraft carrier dream, and it drew the first complete blueprint for China's aircraft carrier business, the soil on which it grew. 2012 saw China's first carrier blocking ship test finally succeed. It only took 2 to 3 seconds for the tail hook of the carrier and the pull hook of the blocking cable to achieve takeoff and zeroing. To this day, how do the countries who has ridiculed China feel when they see China getting its own carrier from a broken ship? Okay, that's all for today. Please put your comments below and share your insightful ideas with other people. Thank you so much for your continuous support. Your precious time with us is highly appreciated. Hot Topics time to explore the wisdom behind the news. We will see you in the next video.